I think the key to doing exceptional work is to figure out what makes you, your situation, your person, your team, your customers, etc., an exception.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Spin Sucks Fireside Chat. I am Gini Dietrich, the founder and author of Spin Sucks. Today, I have a super fun guest for you to get to know. Many of you know her online, but have never had the chance to hear her voice, unless you watch her crazy Instagram stories, or have seen her live, and I am here to change that for you. Are you ready? Laura Petrolino is the Chief Client Officer for Untrained Dietrich, and she's a staple among the Spin Sucks community. She's not only one of my most trusted colleagues, she's become one of my closest friends. We're a lot alike and have often been accused of sharing a brain, which actually may be true. I love to tell this story. A couple of years ago, I was at the grocery store after work, and I was standing in line to check out. And while I was waiting, I was checking my email. And there was one from a client of ours stating that she had gone to her CEO and upsold him on more of our services, which is awesome. But we'd never had that conversation with her, and we'd never talked budget. So we were like, are we getting more money? Are we doing more work for like, we didn't know what the thing was. And it was the first I'd heard about it. And so my assumption, of course, is that Laura had talked to her about it. So I say, what the heck to myself? And I dial Laura, and Laura literally picks up the phone and says, I have no idea why she sent that email yesterday either. And so it was kind of like, okay, we do share a brain. And I didn't even have to explain why I called. I was just like, okay, thanks. That's all I needed. So I'm very excited that you get to spend a little time with her today. She's the yin to my yang, the sugar in my coffee, the rays to my sunshine. Ladies and gents, Laura Petrolino.
Yay. Wow. What an intro. That was fantastic. I'm just going to play that over and over for myself.
I kind of like the yin to my yang, the sugar in my coffee, the rays to my sunshine. I worked on those three lines for a very long time.
I like it. I'm very impressed. That's like our theme song. If we were like Mary Tyler Moore, right?
All right. So when my husband's business was ready to hire an external agency, I, of course, would not let him consider anyone other than Untrained Dietrich. But the deal that we made is that I would try is the operative word, to stay out of it and let my team work with his team without my oversight or interruption. So the other day, he's getting ready to go play basketball. He plays at 5:45 or 3 days a week. And I was writing my blog post for the day. And even though he knows not to speak to me that early in the morning, he said, why is Laura working so early? And then he answered his own question because he knows not to speak to me that early. And he said, oh, right, because she works for you. And I was like, it's not like I require this. You know, the truth of the matter is I don't require everyone work at the crack of dawn, but you do it. And I am curious why you do it.
So I call those hours my golden time because it really is golden. I'm so productive during that time. And honestly, I don't think I would be able to do my job without those 3 hours first thing in the morning. I mean, it is precious. And if anything tries to like interfere with it, it's just,
like it doesn't today.
Right. No, but it's just precious. I get so much done. I'm really focused. I'm a morning person. I ice skated growing up. And so I woke up at 3:45 every morning for my entire life. So I'm a morning person. I'm really focused at that time. There's no distractions, no one pinging you, no clients calling or slacking you, no team members asking questions. It's great. It's just really focused time. And I really think I can get done in those 3 hours first thing in the morning, the same amount that I can get done the rest of the day.
Probably more because you have so many freaking meetings every day.
Right. Probably more. So I've crafted my schedule so that those 3 hours are precious. I wake up at between like 4:30 and 4:45, and those first 3 hours are just precious work time. And then I take a break and go work out, and then I come back and have the rest of the day. And it works really well for me.
So speaking of working out, beyond working with our clients at Untrained Dietrich and helping to serve the SpinSucks community, you also are a bodybuilder, which is not a small, I was going to say no pun intended, but it kind of is a pun. So not a small undertaking. And we've already established that I make you work 24/7. So literally, how do you fit it in?
You know, I know we've had these discussions before, and I'm a big believer that you always have time for your priorities.
Yep.
So I'm also a really goal-oriented person. So I set my goals and then I create my schedule around what's going to drive those. So my priorities are the things that are important to me. And it's not even a question of how you find time for it. When it's something that's, you're going after and that is driving a goal, there's time. There's a lot of hours in the day. It's just where you spend them.
And you have a coach. Does that help with holding you accountable and doing all that?
Actually, I don't think it helps from an accountability standpoint for me. What it helps with is it gets me out of my own head, because it's nice to have something that I can go in and execute the program he gives me and just do it and not have to think about it.
Right.
So that makes it kind of a nice mental release, because when I go to the gym, I'm not strategizing about what I should do or overthinking if I'm doing this or if I should do this. I just go, I do the program I'm given and can execute and really focus on like the goal versus the work behind it.
So you alluded to this, you work the first 3 hours of the morning, so 5 to 8, let's call it, and then you go to the gym. So you're going to the gym at the time that most people are getting to work and having their coffee and doing their watercolor talk and all of that.
Right.
Does it interrupt client meetings or meetings with our team or?
No, I'll normally, depending on when my first meetings start, I'll go between 7 and 8. So, but it really, I've planned meetings so they all tend to start after 10. So I get home and jump into meetings. That's the benefit of a virtual office, is I do have Slack and everything on my phone, so I can stay connected.
and me texting you, are you still at the gym? Are you still at the gym? Are you still at the gym? Can I talk to you now? Can I talk to you now?
So I can stay connected and know what's going on.
Right.
And so I never see it as a problem. And those first few hours, people tend to be just getting going and revving up anyways. So there's not, at least in my day and the way that I've structured things around it, there's not that much that goes on other than those daily sort of check-ins or whatnot. And because I know that this is my pattern, those first 3 hours, I'm proactive in making sure that anything that might need to be addressed while I'm gone is already addressed. So normally if clients are first getting in or the team's getting in, like there's things that are ready to go. So it's already been taken care of ahead of time.
People are probably like, poof. I think the other advantage you have is that you're on the East Coast. So 10 o'clock your time is 9 o'clock my time, and it's 7 o'clock on the Pacific Coast. So it's not like on the West Coast. So it's not like, you're starting your day at 10 o'clock and you've already gotten 3 hours of work done.
Right. I think that's the big difference, is getting that time ahead of time, because it's not like I just get up, go to the gym and come back and start the day at 10. So I really,
that would be nice too, though. I mean,
okay. So when you have that time, you basically can be proactive about everything. And, you tend to have a good sense about what people are going to be expecting or the things that need to be done. So everyone gets in and they have this stuff just waiting for them. And then they take care of that. And by the time you're back, they're, caught up to speed. So it's a nice place to be in.
It's funny because I just had somebody say to me, wow, your schedule, and I tend to be way more rigid than you are, but your schedule is so defined. And I think it's easier for you, Gini, because you're the boss, which sure, I get that. But he said, how do you handle, client requests, or what if client emails you an emergency and it's during the time that you're doing deep work and you have email closed? And I think it's about expectations.
Yeah, it's totally about expectations. Our clients always know that we are responsive and we'll get back to them. And when there's a problem, it will be taken care of. So I think you start getting into problems like that when there's, to the blog post that I just wrote, when there's some trust issues and they don't necessarily have that expectation of the fact and then the activity to prove it to themselves that you will get back, you will handle it, you will be on top of things. So I never have that problem. Now, I don't have as big of like chunks of deep work time, you know, like several hours, but I'll go 2 hours and not respond to anything. And it's never a problem because they know, they have that trust that we'll take care of it. And that's an honor and a really nice place to be in. So
yeah, and I think that's what it's about, is it's about creating that level of trust. It's setting the boundaries, and it's doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, it's doing what you say you're going to do. And it doesn't take long for someone to have a relationship with you and see that you're always following through and doing what you say, and getting them in, and that knowledge that you're going to be thinking proactively for them. So they know that you're on top of it. They know that you're ahead of it. You're looking forward. You're, you know, always ready to respond. And so people, they don't need that instant response when they have that trust that they're taken care of.
Well, and I think too that we both have come through the untraining clients that because we both used to respond immediately. I think what we've both figured out is that you can't get real work done and real thinking done if you're constantly distracted and you're constantly answering Slack and email and social media and doing all these things. So I think we also had to untrain. So what are some of the things you did to untrain clients?
Starting to not email them after, like, respond to emails after work hours, and this is a hard one for me, and when I have a harder time with it, in those morning hours when I'm working. Because still, while I'm working, that's my time. That's my deep work time to not have any distractions. So only emailing them during hours, same with any type of communication, and then just being really responsive for when you are, you know, talking to them. Also, the fact that we don't just rely on email communications. We have Slack, we Zoom with them often. And so often those things that you might be responding to kind of on an ongoing back and forth email basis, you can just get on a Zoom call or Slack for 15 minutes and you've got it taken care of. So it's setting those boundaries and then not breaking them. So if you're not emailing clients after 6 o'clock, you start one day, you say, oh, well, I'm here, I'm working, it's 7 p.m., let me just respond to this email. That's not going to work, because even if you've set that expectation for the client and said, I will always respond to you between these hours, when you respond even once or twice after that expectation you've set a new expectation through your actions, and actions are always much louder than words. So you have to set an expectation and then be consistent with it. Otherwise, consistency, even if it's inconsistency where you're going above and beyond, that still is going to eliminate trust. And I think that's the hardest thing for communicators who are people pleasers to understand, is that consistency always trumps like that instant reaction. Because even if it's like, well, I'm going to help them out and respond at 7 p.m. on something that's not an emergency, you've been inconsistent. So the next time that you don't want to respond at 7 p.m., that's going to eliminate the trust. And that's kind of a hard thing to get over, is I
think there, you know, we learned this lesson in a really hard way, because we had a client who, to your point, you know, as communicators, we tend to be people pleasers. And you know, I mean, I can just hear some of the things that people would say just watching this, which are things like, well, I want them to know that I'll respond to them when the email comes in, or that when their text comes in, or that, you know, I am super responsive, or I'll get back to them immediately, which is great. And we should do that. But there is going to come a time, if it hasn't already, where somebody's going to take advantage of that. And we had a pretty big client who took advantage of the fact that we were both extraordinarily responsive. And two things happened. One was that she wanted a 2-hour meeting with me, and I didn't have a 2-hour block because of travel and speaking and all of that, and my regular stuff for 2 weeks. And she had to wait 2 weeks, and she just blew a gasket over that. And the other thing is that she would email you or text you at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night and expect a response, and then she blew a gasket when she didn't get it, because that really, let's be fair, that's not fair. And it ended up eroding the relationship for both of us with this client, because we had, in the beginning, I was like bending over backwards to get our meeting times. And then there was just this one instance where I couldn't do it. And you were the same thing. You were responding to her on weekends and helping her with big projects on Sunday afternoon, and, which was the times she tended to work. And then when we were both like, wait a second, it totally eroded the relationship on both sides, I think.
On both sides. That's such a great example of it. And so you have to set those boundaries. And if you shouldn't be working 24/7, because it's not good for you or for the clients, and you're not doing your best work. You're not, this is scientific research. And so anyone that thinks that they can work 24/7 and bring their best work you're wrong. Like, you're just wrong.
You are wrong. Yep.
There's research that shows that you absolutely can't, and you are your most creative and your most kind of innovative when you are not working. So you need to not work. So that's A. So you need to have.
Well, let's use that as a caveat. You have to work, just not 24/7.
Yes. You need to have boundaries. You need to have times.
Our team's going to be like, well, Ginny, Laura said.
Yeah. You need to have boundaries. You need to have times that you don't work. So your brain has space to have that creative process and to just like clear it and think. So set the boundaries and then be consistent with your clients, because otherwise they're going to expect that you are always going to respond to them. And when you don't, they'll lose trust for you.
Well, and I think we talk clients because we're on the agency side, but I think it works internally too. We've had this conversation in the PR Dream Team where it's like, okay, how do you signal to people that you are doing deep work, or that you need time to think, or you can't be interrupted? And it's everything from, putting on your noise canceling headphones to closing your door to, I think somebody said the other day, she actually puts a sign on the door that says, I'm doing deep work right now.
Yep.
And you have to train people to respect those boundaries so you can actually accomplish things during the day.
So you can get stuff done. And I think you're right. It's just education and training people of how important it is, and then knowing where those boundaries are. I set on my calendar work blocks that if someone goes to my Google Calendar or my Calendly and tries to schedule something, there's a work block. And those are precious. They can't, they can't schedule anything in there.
Well, and going back to the exercise, do you have a work block from 8 to 10?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And so nothing interferes with that. That's where it's set. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's super smart. All right. So let's shift gears a little bit. You and I joke a lot, and people have asked us this question, that we should publish our text conversations. Although I'm not sure that a lot of them are safe for work, because we're 14-year-old boys. We have eighth grade boy humor, a sense of humor. So what if we were to publish some of our conversations, what are some of our funniest that you would?
So hard. It's
like
so
you just did
hard.
the last week.
I know.
And then do you think that people will think we're as funny as we think we are?
Oh, of course they will. Obviously. We are hilarious.
We are hilarious.
And if they don't think we're funny, it's just because they're not smart enough to catch
They don't have a sense of humor.
They don't have a sense of humor.
It's like when Dennis Miller.
It's you.
When Dennis Miller was calling Monday Night Football, and everybody was like, I don't get it. And I was like, you're just not smart enough to get it.
Smart enough to get it.
Which is terrible to think, but it's true.
But true.
He has a very dry, smart sense of humor.
Right. Whenever someone doesn't get my sense of humor, I always feel like, oh, poor people. Anyways, okay.
The key to this, everybody, is laugh at Laura all the time so she doesn't think you're dumb.
Otherwise, I'll think you're dumb. That's just life lesson here, folks. Wow, it's so hard. I think sometimes when we have like full conversations over completely like made up spoof scenarios, we can just go on and on and on about this completely.
We do that,
Yeah, those are fun. Those are really fun.
I think the GIF conversations too, where we just respond to each other in images, that's pretty fun.
Those are fun.
Those
and
always make me laugh.
Like, we just have like 15 minutes of like conversations about something that just is not really a scenario or that are GIFs or whatnot. And it's fantastic. Yeah, those are great.
One of my favorite is when you created the job description for the carrier pigeon and people actually applied for the job, and we were like, oh my gosh.
That's my favorite ever. I really need to post that again and see.
You really do, because I remember you created it on Craigslist, and then I posted it on my Facebook, on my personal Facebook page, and people were like, "Where do I apply?" And I was like, "Did you read it? It's a job description for a carrier pigeon. It's not real, people." But it just goes to show, like, I mean, no wonder fake news exists. My word.
That is one of my favorites too. Yes, people, please read before you apply to a job, because you are not qualified to be a carrier pigeon.
Not qualified to be a carrier pigeon.
Oh, you might be
Which, by the way, I was told in the comments of Gin and Topics last week that carrier pigeons are extinct and that nobody can actually send me videos that way.
So that is unfortunate reality. And maybe why we never filled that position.
Perhaps we should have thought of that before we created a job description.
So that is an HR lesson for everyone. Do not create job positions for extinct species. Just throwing that out there. Free tip.
All right. Now it's time for the speed round. All right. You know the rules. You're just supposed to respond with the first thing that comes to mind, whether or not it's true. Are you ready?
Yes.
Your favorite blog?
Spin Sucks.
Duh. Favorite podcast?
The Spin Sucks podcast when it comes.
when it launches.
I already know it's going to be the best.
It's going to be the best podcast ever.
But currently, Hidden Brain and TED Radio Hour.
And don't you listen to a lot of NPR stuff too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love, and anything around like neuroscience, I'm big on.
No comment. What book changed your life?
Ooh, that's hard. Actually, I just read Power of Habit, which was really helped me look at things I do.
You didn't just read that. You read that last year.
But which in the scheme of my life was just because my life was bigger than, I'm old.
You are old. That's true.
Old. So last year it was like a millisecond.
I just noticed you took your calendar down. Darn.
I know I did.
Oh, everybody, she had a calendar of photos of her and her man.
Right.
I guess because we made fun of you in the staff meeting yesterday, you had to remove it.
I was so ashamed I had to remove it. You all hurt me.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
What was your last vacation?
What was my last vacation? Oh,
well, you can talk about the one forthcoming if you'd like.
I'm going to the Caymans. That's exciting.
The Grand Cayman, not to be
confused
with the Grand Canyon.
Allie. But I'm excited that our Arizona friends are so pumped for me to come that they
think you're going to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. But I think my last vacation was hiking, that when we went hiking the Franconia Ridge and I almost blew off the mountain. That was it.
Well, yeah, because you weigh like 5 pounds. So
right.
That's not surprising.
I had bruises on my hands from clinging to the boulders so I wouldn't blow off the mountain. That was how bad it was.
Oh.
So that was fun.
I need to take out a life insurance policy on you, I think.
I know.
That would be terrible. Favorite snack?
I don't know.
It shouldn't be this hard.
I know it really shouldn't be. Probably like oatmeal and banana and peanut butter, that mixture.
As my 4-year-old would say, boring.
Yeah.
Best meal you've ever had?
I'm such not a foodie. I'm
eat
passing.
Food?
I eat food, but all my food is like normal and
the
not.
Chicken I made you. Okay, that's good.
Oh, the chicken Ginny made me was hands down. I have not eaten chicken since because nothing will compare. I say no chicken.
No chicken.
No, I only eat chicken from one source now.
What's your guilty pleasure?
These are hard.
They are not.
I don't know. Gosh, I don't know.
You don't have a guilty pleasure?
I don't think I do. I embrace everything I do. I'm guilt-free.
What is something that you do that people would think is ridiculous?
Well, where do we begin?
Your guilty pleasure are Instagram stories.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
When you write, do you prefer pen and paper or your laptop? Laptop. Mm-hmm. I see I've added a new question here. Who's your most favorite boss ever? I forgot I added that. Okay, carry on. What's your latest binge? You don't really binge either. This is why I asked you to see if I could learn anything new about you, but apparently not. Did you watch Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
No.
Oh, you have to watch that. Rob would like it too. You have to watch it.
Okay.
Okay, so you're really bad at the speed round. And from now on, when other guests are stressed out about it, I'm just going to send them this clip and say, don't worry about it.
Yeah, you can do better than this, folks.
You can do way better.
I'm just here. I did this purposely to make the rest of you feel better about yourselves. That's kind of, I took one for the team. So you're welcome, everyone.
What are you most excited about for the future of Spin Sucks?
Ooh. We have such a great community of just success-focused, super smart people that are all there to learn. And it's a great variety of people from every communications field that are just, coming to sort of honing in on this one spot to learn and to grow and further not just their own careers, but really I think the industry as a whole. And you just can't stuff that many people focused on learning and development into one spot and not have just more and more super exciting stuff come from it. So I think it's just the community that's attracted there and how everything that they learn and everything that they grab onto and seeing it from the different perspectives. So we can put a, blog post out there or an ebook or whatnot, and then having all these people converge and see it from different perspectives, from all of their different, specialties and backgrounds and skill sets. It's crazy what comes out of it, and just, what you walk away from being able to think of things from those different ways. So even if it's something like you wrote or you taught, you walk away from it being like, oh,
yeah, totally agree.
So it's a cool place to be. And, I think all of us, even internally, every day learn stuff from being in the community just because of that, great network of amazing people. So,
well, I've always said, the thing about the Spin Sucks community is you're taught not to read the comments because people are awful human beings, especially when they're behind their computer screen. But in the Spin Sucks community, both publicly and privately, the conversations are respectful and kind, and educational, helpful. And it's nobody's ever coming down or making fun of or anything. I mean, it's just such a respectful community and you're right. I mean, I love it when I can go and I'm like, oh, I just learned something from what I've created. That's awesome. Thank you. I love that. I love that.
It's the best thing ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's so amazing how just supportive and people take time to really and truly help other people.
Yeah.
So it's a nice place to be, especially when sometimes, the world can be a cutthroat, non-helpful place. Yes. So it's a nice community of, just people come out with things and I'm like, gosh, you're so super smart. Like, how did we get all these smart people? But it's because they're all focused on learning and growing. And I think you just can't be a person like that wants to constantly learn and get better and not be someone that's just contributing in huge ways to the industry overall.
Well, you alluded to the Spin Sucks podcast, which is launching in March.
Which will be the best podcast.
It for sure will be the best podcast.
Yeah.
We also are relaunching the Spin Sucks website in March. What else do we have upcoming? Like, there's a lot of fun stuff this year.
There's a lot of fun stuff this year. Yeah, lots of opportunities. So it's exciting.
Woohoo. Well, ladies and gents, Laura Petrolino.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.